video, I want to take kind of everything that I've taken in the last 4 videos and put it together into a popular, Gae Baek is a very popular pattern. I want to go through Gae Baek movement by movement and take all those concepts and kind of tie it together into Gae Baek. Now obviously you're going to have to do this for a lot of the patterns. I don't know which patterns are going to be chosen for the ITF sport as far as what people are going to be having to do. It looked like in the description everybody's going to have to do 2 patterns. At official ITF tournaments, the way those are run, the judges will choose a pattern for both competitors to do, and then the competitors get to do a pattern of their choice, and they're judged on both of them. So I don't know, it hasn't really been said what AAU is going to do with that, but I can imagine that you're going to have to be ready to perform any pattern up through your rank, which there's 3 per rank, all the way up to like 6 dan. So a lot of patterns you're going to have to learn. I'm just going to take Gae Baek, because a lot of the things that we can apply to Gae Baek can apply to all the other ones the same way. So first technique in Gae Baek is stepping back into a checking block. So what does a checking block mean with this? And again, notice my hands are closed, then they open on that knife hand. So a checking block is a block that's actually getting into place before the technique reaches you. You're not actively blocking that technique. So you don't have to thrust this forward like you're hitting the technique as it's happening. You're more settling into this, making it nice and strong, and then that technique, typically like a turning kick, is going to come around and hit your arms, and you're prepared for that. So I like to just from the side get into that technique. The next technique is that twist kick. I mentioned this in a previous video. That's done to the inner thigh and right in front of you. All right, so make sure that's going in front of you, not out to the side, and that it's hitting where your inner thigh is going to be. All right, now we step forward into 2 punches. All right, now we're going to step back. The next 2 techniques are done in connected motion, so there's not going to be that space between the technique. Then this double arc hand block. This technique does not have sine wave into it. The description of it is it's done very fast. Something's getting thrown at you. What this is defending against is something being thrown at you. Some of the examples are like a chair. So it's done very quickly. The hands are just up and out, and so I don't want to take the time to do sine wave with that. Very fast, get those hands up there. This is not a slow motion technique. So often I think people are thinking this is like the ball block from Sipjin. That's not what it is. It's very fast technique. If you notice, the one thing I do is twist my hips just for that action reaction with that. I'm twisting my hips away from it. All right, so then the next technique is the bending ready stance. One of the mistakes I see with this bending ready stance is it's important to note that this is a guarding block that I'm doing when I lift my leg up for this bending ready stance. So you don't just lift your leg up. This is a block. So from here, I'm going to block that forward hard as I'm lifting my leg up into that stance. You step down into a sitting stance. This is a scooping block. It's got to come down really low. I'm scooping the foot up and then executing that middle punch as I'm coming down. And then I'm winding up for the front back fist strike. All right. Next technique. You'll see sometimes in the written descriptions, you'll see 2 types of stepping a lot of time. Stepping on line and stepping foot to foot. This next technique is an example of stepping on line. And what that means is, it'll tell you which line, whether it's A, B, C, or D. C and D is in front of you, A and B is left and right from your starting position. So on line means this foot's going to move back, and then this foot's going to step forward, all right? As opposed to the feet touching each other. The other one's called foot to foot, where the feet will touch each other and then change position. So, right from where I'm at, this foot's going to come back, and then this foot's going to step forward into knife hand guarding block. Then I do the front snap kick. Remember, front snap kicks have to be snappy. Don't hold them out there. Backing out. And I'm going to step down into this fingertip thrust. These two fingertip thrusts are done at normal speed. So a lot of times I'll see these done fast. Like a lot of times when we do double punches, we do them fast. Make sure these are normal speed. So if I'm coming down, 1, 2, normal speed. This side kick, it specifically says to pull the hands back towards your hip. So this is one where you do not punch with the side kick because the pattern specifically says to pull the hands towards the hip. So I execute the side kick, I come down, guarding block. I want to point this out real quick. After any foot technique, when you go into a hand technique, you still have to do the sine wave. All right, so you'll notice I do this side kick. All right, pulling the hand. I come back. Now before I can step down, I have to go down, up, and execute that knife hand technique. Actually, this one's closed hand. All right, so down, up, down after that kick. Always do the sine wave even after a kick. Don't just step down into that. All right, then pivoting. Watch for the sine wave. Down, up, down. One more. The three guarding blocks. This next block I'm going to do is called a 9-shape block. Common mistake I see here is people watching it think that this is a punch. They think that this is like a low punch out of, similar to like the form basai. This is a block. So the one's doing a low block and this hand's coming up. And what's happening is I could be trapping somebody's punch in between there and breaking their arm. So one starts high, one low, and this one comes down to the low block position while this hand goes up. Next technique, I'm going to pivot all the way around. Be careful of your sine wave on this pivot, all right? You can't come up too fast. I got to stay low, all right? Getting ready for this knife hand low block, then come up, knife hand low block. The next technique is a turning kick. So again, read the description, understand what it means. Turning kick is what WT calls the roundhouse kick. So a standard turning kick is on to a 45-degree angle. I don't have time to get into all that, but if it says side turning kick, it's the 90-degree one that you're used to with roundhouses and WT. If it just says turning kick, it means off to a 45. Just about every turning kick you do in patterns is done at that 45-degree angle. And another important point of the turning kick is the standard way to kick an ITF is to kick with the ball of foot, not the instep. So I'm going to execute this turning kick off to the 45, and then the next technique is a flying side kick. I see a couple things done here on this. That some people will do more of a skipping inside kick, and then I've seen other ones know that it's a flying side kick, but they take a running start and do that flying side kick. What you want to do with this is after that turning kick, I want to step down. I want to do the flying side kick right from here, all right? From the 2 feet being on the ground. I'm still going to fly forward as much as possible. Actually, you got to fly forward enough so that you land at your starting point when you're done with this. So in the ITF style, whenever we do jumping, don't think that you have to jump quickly, all right? Don't think that, well, I got to do a flying kick, so I just better jump in the air as fast as I can. You're allowed to take your time to like really bend down and get a good jump out of this, all right? Because you want to. So the idea that, I know sometimes when we're learning sparring, we learn that when you're doing a jumping technique, stay low because you want it to be fast. That's not the case in ITF patterns. You want to jump up as high as you can. So it's okay to, get ready, take my time, really bend down, and jump as high as I can to execute that side kick. All right, so after I do that side kick, I want to point out I'm coming down with a twin fist punch. I got to get that sine wave into that twin fist punch. So I'm going to turn, bend, get that sine wave in there for that twin fist punch. The next technique is the arc hand again. Again, this is fast. Don't take time with sine wave with that. Execute it out there. And then the upset punch. I'm stepping on line again for this next technique. So what comes about right here, and make sure that you're not stepping foot to foot with that. Into that elbow strike. And then the next technique is to jump forward into an X stance with a double forearm block. Mistakes I see when jumping forward with an X stance is some people will turn too sideways with this, all right? If I'm executing a double forearm block going forward out of, say, a walking stance, I'm going to be facing that direction, all right? I'm not going to be like this. It's no different when I'm making that X stance, all right? So this X stance, as I jump forward, my front foot's just going to be off at an angle this way just a little bit. It's not going to be sideways, all right? It's not going to be sideways. It's going to be facing a little bit that way, and the back foot's going to come up and actually hit. It's going to hit my calf like it's a brake, all right? So I can't go any further. That's going to help with your balance too. If you're facing more forward with this, now I'm still technically half facing because my front shoulder is a little bit more forward than my back shoulder, but you can see I'm facing this way as opposed to if I was like this, all right? So that's that technique. Then we go into the scooping block again, nice and low, come up, settle in with that punch, and then the back fist strike. The next technique, I'm going to step in, step out with that there, and now for this next, it's a turning kick again. So again, it's that roundhouse, but it's done at a 45. The description in the pattern is to have this front foot move sideways a little, and then I execute that turning kick, all right, off at 45. There's two ways that I've seen this done. The competition way is to put a little bit of a hop into that. So from here, I'm going to step and kick kind of at the same time. All right, with that. I've also seen people kind of step then kick, and the joke I hear is that's the 40-year-old way to do it. So you can put that little hop into it. That looks a little better. After that, I want to come down into, make sure that I'm getting proper sine wave done. Is that this one's a little easier because you're actually switching feet. You're stepping down and then stepping forward with that twin fist punch. This next technique I see wrong a lot of times because the video doesn't show it well. This is a knuckle punch. All right, this is not the same as when I was in that direction and I did the upset punch. This one is a knuckle punch. This opposite hand just comes to your shoulder, all right? I see sometimes people hitting their arm with this and doing an upward direction with that. That's incorrect, all right? So it's an upward punch, so it does come in an upward direction with that knuckle right under the chin, but make sure this hand's just going straight back to your shoulder like this as I'm shifting into that L stance. Next technique is that 9-shape block again. Now, the next two techniques are done in continuous motion, so leave out that gap. The first one is a reverse knife hand block. Start with the hands closed, open up as I'm going. Another important thing with reverse knife hand blocks, make sure the thumbs are tucked. On knife hands, when you're using this side, it's okay for the thumb to be here. Reverse knife hands, we start using this side, that thumb must be tucked. Can't be out here, otherwise you'd be hitting that thumb against your opponent. Now, I'm going to, right away, no gap. This second one's a regular knife hand block. A big difference in ITF low knife hands, guarding blocks, is the hand that's not doing the block is not up at your chest level. It's parallel with the other hand. All right, so if I'm doing this in the front so you can see this, notice this hand's down low, parallel with the other hand. Then when I go the other way, it's the same thing. It's parallel with the other hand. Keep that off hand low. The next technique is a W-shaped block. Don't mistake this with a mountain block, all right? The W-shaped block does not have to be 90-degree angles. The fist should be at eye level. So you'll notice my elbows do sag a little bit, all right? And that's because that's where the name W shape comes in. It's not like a mountain block. Another thing to note about this, only the front hand's doing the block when I'm doing this technique. The back one's just an action-reaction. So don't think that I'm doing 2 blocks at once. This front hand, if I'm moving this way, this hand's doing the block. The other one's just an action-reaction hand. So from here, and these are done in stamping motions, all right? So what's a stamping motion? Stamping motion is not bring the foot up and bring it down hard like this, like a stomp. I don't know what the real difference between stomp and stamp is. ITF uses the word stamp, so I'm going to use it. But you don't raise your knee up and bring it down. All stamping motions, no matter where you see it, the leg is going to come down already in the position for the stance. So in the case of a sitting stance, I've got this shape of my leg. It's slightly bent, all right? So when I'm stepping forward into this next technique, I'm going to have my leg already shaped like a sitting stance. It's just going to be raised in the air. And then as I execute, I bring it down hard and twist into that. And that creates that motion that I'm talking about, that stamp. And I'm going to do the same thing the other way. Again, legs up. It's already prepared for a sitting stance. And then sit it down. A little harder than normal because it's a stamping motion. All right, then do a rising block, followed by a middle punch. Now these are done at normal speed. All right, sometimes I see these done fast. This is 2 normal speeds. And I do the same thing the other way. I step on line. Do not step foot to foot. And then step forward at the end of Gae Baek. And you should end up where you started on all patterns. I moved around a lot there, so I probably did. So I'm going to do all of Gae Baek at normal speed. Oh, and the other important thing is, and this is in the description of the ITF sport rules, if your school does key ups, remove them all. All right, they don't want to have any key ups throughout the pattern. Instead, it's that breath control on every move. You also say the name of the pattern properly at the end of it, all right? So as I finish up Gae Baek with those last couple of technique, it'll look like this. Gae Baek! Before I return to Chumbi. All right, so all of Gae Baek. Gae Baek.